I left without raising my voice. And that's what broke her throwaway because a couple of our mutuals still lurk here. I'm not writing this for revenge. I'm writing it because I keep seeing people say, if you loved them, you'd fight. I did love her. And the day I stopped fighting was the day I finally understood what love is not supposed to cost. For context, I'm 33M. She's 31F. Let's call her Tessa. We were together a little over 6 years, living in a rented townhouse on the edge of the city. She worked in marketing for a boutique agency. I'm a project manager in logistics. Boring job, stable income, lots of spreadsheets, lots of deadlines. Tessa used to joke that my brain had an inbox and she wasn't always in it. At the time, I thought it was teasing. Now I know it was a warning. The week everything ended, I was supposed to be in Toronto for a 3-day supplier summit. The final day got moved up because a storm was rolling in and everyone wanted to get home before flights got messy. My flight was rebooked. I landed at 11:58 p.m. instead of 4:15 p.m. I texted Tessa from the runway. Got in early, on my way. No reply. That by itself wasn't suspicious. She sometimes left her phone in whatever tote bag she was carrying and wouldn't notice for hours. She also liked late-night Pilates classes and wind-down drinks with coworkers on Fridays. I didn't think cheating. I thought she fell asleep. When I pulled into our driveway, the porch light was off. Normally, she left it on if I was traveling. She said it made the place feel less empty. I unlocked the front door and stepped into a house that felt staged, not tidy, not messy, wrong in the way a familiar room feels when the furniture has been shifted 2 inches. There was music playing, low, jazzy, some playlist she used when she was trying to feel glamorous. The living room lamp was on. The kitchen smelled like basil and garlic. I stood there holding my suitcase handle, listening. 2 voices, a woman's laugh, a man's murmur, soft, comfortable, the comfort you don't share with a stranger. My brain tried to bargain. Her brother came over. It's a coworker. I'm hearing the TV. Then I saw the shoes by the entry mat. Men's shoes, not boots, not sneakers. Loafers, polished, placed neatly like someone planned to be there a while. I didn't own anything like them. I didn't go toward the voices. I went into the kitchen. 2 wine glasses on the island, a bottle of Pinot, half empty, a cutting board with lemon slices, a pan on the stove with pasta still warm. Tessa had never once cooked a full meal at midnight after a night out. Not once, but someone had cooked. On the counter near the toaster was a phone. Not hers. A silver iPhone with a cracked corner. Next to it, a set of keys with a gym tag and a little leather fob stamped with the name Harris. My hands didn't shake. I felt muted, like the part of me that should have flooded the room with adrenaline had decided it wasn't worth the effort. I carried my suitcase down the hallway and pushed open our bedroom door. There are scenes you see in movies and think, no one finds people like that. They were like that. Tessa was asleep on her side, hair messy, one bare shoulder out of the sheet. A man was asleep beside her, sprawled like he belonged there, his arm heavy over her waist. I noticed stupid details. The corner of the comforter was tucked under his foot. Her side of the nightstand had my book on it, face down, like she'd been reading while waiting for him. My travel toiletry bag was still on the dresser from last week, and his cologne smell was already layered into the room. On the floor by the hamper was a tie. Dark blue. Expensive looking. Not mine. I didn't wake them. I didn't slam the door. I didn't take pictures. I didn't throw the tie in the trash. I backed out. I sat on the bottom stair, in the dim glow of the hallway light, and listened to the house breathe. I don't know why I waited. I needed to see if my brain would switch back on. I wanted to catch her in a lie while she was still groggy. I couldn't move yet. After about 20 minutes, the bedroom door creaked. The man stepped into the hall, rubbing his face, shirtless, hair flattened on one side. He saw me and froze hard. It was almost comical. We stared at each other. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. He closed it. Then he said, "I didn't know." His voice sounded genuinely uncertain, like he was searching for the correct script. I nodded once. "You're awake. That's enough." He glanced back toward the bedroom door. He whispered, "Tess?" She stirred. A soft sound. Then the mattress shifted. Tessa appeared in the doorway, blinking like she'd walked into bright sunlight. Her expression went from confusion to alarm to something else. Not guilt, not shame, annoyance. "What are you doing home?" she asked. Not, "Are you okay?" Not oh my God, not even, how did you get in? What are you doing home? That question rearranged something in me. I stood up and set my suitcase against the wall. The man, later I would learn his name was Graham, grabbed his shirt from the floor and started pulling it on, eyes darting between us like he was watching a slow-motion car crash. I said to Tessa, "How long?" She exhaled. The exhale you do when you're irritated someone has made your life inconvenient. "Can you not do this right now?" she said. Graham paused mid-button and looked at her like, "Seriously?" I repeated, "How long?" She looked at him, then at me. Then she shrugged. "Since around March. It was July. 5 months." I heard myself say, "Okay." She blinked. "Okay?" I nodded again. Slow. "Okay." Tessa stepped forward, voice sharpening. "Don't do that calm thing. Don't act like you're above it." Graham cleared his throat. "I should go." Tessa snapped, "No, don't," then caught herself, and her eyes flicked to me with a flash of calculation. That look made my stomach drop harder than the scene in the bedroom did. Because that look wasn't panic. It was strategy. Graham took it as his cue and slipped past me, moving quickly and quietly, grabbing his loafers and keys from the entry table like he'd done this before. He paused at the door, then said to me, "I'm sorry, man." He sounded half sincere, half relieved it wasn't going to be a fist fight. Then he left. The lock clicked. The house became still. Tessa folded her arms, robe loose around her waist. She didn't cry. She didn't plead. She looked like someone who'd been interrupted mid-episode. "Well?" she said. I waited a beat to make sure I wasn't about to say something I'd regret. Then I asked, "Why?" She laughed. Laughed. "Why?" she repeated, like the question was adorable. "Because you're here, but you're not here." I felt the old defensive reflex rise, the urge to list what I'd done, what I'd built, how many times I'd swallowed stress I could be easy to live with. But I didn't take the bait. She went on, warmed up by her own narrative. "You're always working. You're always tired. You think buying groceries and paying bills is the same as showing up." Graham listens. He asks me questions. He's fun. Fun. Like we were comparing restaurants. I said, "You could have told me you were unhappy." She rolled her eyes. "I did. 100 ways. You didn't hear it." I stared at her, trying to locate the woman who once cried at a commercial about old dogs getting adopted, the woman who used to leave notes in my lunch bag, the woman who made tea when I got sick and sat on the bathroom floor with me when I was throwing up, because she said being alone felt worse than being gross. This version of her looked like she'd rehearsed this speech. I asked, "Do you love him?" She scoffed. "No, don't be dramatic. Do you want to be with him?" She hesitated, and that hesitation was its own answer. "I don't know," she said, annoyed again. "It's different. It's new. I need to figure it out." I nodded, because there was nothing left to argue about. She had already moved herself out of us. I was catching up. I walked into the bedroom and pulled my duffel bag from the closet. "That's what you're doing?" she snapped, following me. "You're packing? Seriously?" I started with practical things. Underwear, socks, jeans, 3 work shirts. I didn't fold. I didn't rush. I moved like someone packing for a normal trip. Tessa hovered in the doorway, her voice escalating as if volume could manufacture control. "You're leaving? After 6 years? Over sex? That's insane." I didn't respond. She threw her hands up. "Say something. Yell at me. Call me names. Do something." I set my toiletry bag on top of the clothes. Then I reached for my laptop and charger. Still, nothing from me. Her breathing got faster. "You're doing it on purpose. You're trying to make me look like the villain." I looked up. "You don't need me for that." Her face flashed. Anger, then surprise, then the first crack of fear. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said quickly, like she'd found a safer line. "I swear, this wasn't about you. I never planned for it to." I closed the duffel zipper. She stepped closer, voice softer now, almost coaxing. "You know I love you, right? I got caught up, that's all." I held her gaze and asked a single question. "Did you care?" She frowned, confused. "What do you mean? Did you care enough to not do it?" And she said, without thinking, with that same casual shrug I'd seen when she'd broken a cheap glass and said it was stuff, "I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't think it mattered that much. Not I made a mistake. Not "I hate myself." Not even I couldn't stop. It didn't matter that much. In that moment, something that had been clinging inside me let go. Not with drama, with gravity. I put the duffel on the bed, zipped it fully, and lifted it by the handle. Tessa's eyes widened. "Wait, you're leaving? Like, right now?" I walked past her, down the hall. She followed, barefoot, robe trailing, voice rising again. "Where are you going? Don't do this. Come on, don't be childish." At the front door, she tried to step in front of me. I stopped, not touching her, not pushing her, not raising my voice. I said, "I didn't mean to leave you." Her face softened for one hopeful second. Then I finished. "I don't see a reason to stay." Her hope collapsed like a tent with the poles pulled out. She whispered, "That's it. You don't care." I opened the door. "I cared for a long time," I said. "You didn't notice." Then I walked out. I didn't slam the door. It clicked shut behind me, gentle and final, like a latch on a box. I spent the first night in a hotel off the highway because it was close, and because I didn't trust myself to drive farther while my brain was still catching up. The room smelled like bleach and carpet shampoo. The bedspread felt like it had been laundered 1,000 times and still wasn't clean. I sat on the edge of the bed with my duffel at my feet and stared at the wall until the clock changed numbers. I didn't cry. I couldn't find the emotion. It was like my nervous system had shut down the dramatic circuits to preserve power. Around 2 a.m., my phone lit up. "Tessa, where are you? This is ridiculous. Answer me. We need to talk like adults. Don't you dare ghost me." I put the phone face down. In the morning, the emotion still didn't arrive, but a different part of my mind woke up. The practical part. The part that knows how to fix problems by making lists. I made a list. 1, money. 2, housing. 3, belongings. 4, social fallout. 5, boundaries. I opened our banking app and transferred my portion of the utilities and rent already paid for the month into my personal account. Not revenge. Separation. I canceled the surprise weekend trip I had booked for our anniversary in September. It was to a lakeside cabin she'd been begging me to go to because she said she wanted cozy autumn photos. The cancellation email felt like releasing a breath I didn't know I was holding. Then I sent one message. "Tessa, I'll collect my things on Tuesday between 2 and 4 p.m. Please have anything you want removed from shared spaces by then. Leave the spare key with the property manager." Her reply came instantly. "What the hell? You're giving up. You're not even going to fight. This is how little I meant to you." I stared at it for a moment and realized something uncomfortable. She wasn't upset that she hurt me. She was upset that she couldn't control my reaction. I didn't respond. I turned my phone off. On Tuesday, I hired a moving crew through an app. 2 guys showed up with tape guns and blank expressions. They didn't ask questions. They didn't care about the story. They did the work. Tessa wasn't home. That, too, said something. The movers packed my clothes, my books, my tools, my old guitar. I never played anymore because she complained it was noisy. They moved my things into a storage unit and handed me the key like it was any other Tuesday. I stood in the empty unit for a minute after they left, breathing in cardboard and dust, and felt the first real emotion since I'd come home. Relief. Not because I'd won, because I was out of the chaos. I moved into a furnished sublet downtown, small but bright, with a view of a brick wall and a slice of sky. It was quiet. The quiet didn't feel like loneliness. It felt like clean air. Work took the first weeks. I buried myself in routine. Wake up, shower, coffee, emails, meetings, come home, eat, sleep. I started running in the mornings because my body needed somewhere to put the energy my brain refused to process. The pavement under my feet became a therapy. One foot, then the other. Simple, honest. I also signed up for a beginner's carpentry class at the community workshop. Not because I wanted to become a carpenter, because I wanted to use my hands to make something that wouldn't talk back. The first thing I built was a cutting board. It was uneven. The edges were rough. But it was mine. It existed because I made it. No manipulation required. Mutual friends were inevitable. At first they texted, "Hey, what happened?" I replied with one sentence, "We separated due to infidelity." I don't want to discuss details. Some respected that, some didn't. One friend, Aaron, insisted on meeting. He picked a bar that smelled like fried food and nostalgia. After one beer, he leaned forward and said, "Man, she's spiraling." I didn't ask how. Silence makes people feel it. He told me anyway. Apparently, Graham wasn't some charming savior. He was a guy with a dynamic job history, an appetite for drama, and an ego that needed constant feeding. He moved in fast. He used her car. He borrowed money. He got into arguments with her coworkers. He started showing up at parties drunk and getting loud. Aaron said, "It's messy, dude, like messy." I nodded. "That's unfortunate." He stared at me. "That's it? You don't care?" I took a sip of my drink and said, "I care that it happened. I don't care to be inside it." Aaron sighed, looking both impressed and unsettled. People like clean emotions, anger, sadness, revenge. They don't know what to do with calm. Later that night, my phone lit up again. A number I didn't recognize. I knew it was her before I opened it. It was her. "I'm sorry, I blocked you everywhere, but I found your email. Please talk to me. I made a mistake. I miss you." I stared at the message. My body did not surge with hope. There was no satisfaction. A tired emptiness, like hearing a song you used to love and realizing you no longer remember the lyrics. I didn't reply. I archived it. Then came what people on here call the flying monkeys. First was her best friend, Paige. Paige never liked me, but she liked what I provided. Stability, predictability, someone to carry the heavy things. She called me on a Saturday while I was sanding a plank of walnut. "Hey," she said too sweetly. "It's Paige." "Hi," I replied. She launched into it. "Tessa's having a hard time. She's learned her lesson. Graham is awful. She's crying all the time. She's in therapy. She needs you." I kept sanding. The rasp of sandpaper was soothing. Paige paused, annoyed by my lack of reaction. "You're going to abandon her?" she said. "After everything?" I stopped sanding and said carefully, "She didn't need me to be harmed. She needed me to stay available." Paige huffed. "You're cold. I'm done," I corrected. "There's a difference." She hung up without saying goodbye. A week later, her sister texted me. Long paragraph, lots of guilt language. "You're not the man I thought you were. You're punishing her. She needs compassion." I deleted it. The man they thought I was existed mainly to keep Tessa comfortable. That man was retired. The closest I got to anger came one night when I opened a box of photos. Not because I missed her, but because I recognized myself in the pictures. There I was, smiling, arm around her, but my eyes looked tired. In photo after photo, I looked like I was holding my breath. I sat on the floor of my sublet, photos spread around me like evidence, and realized I had been performing good partner for long that I had forgotten what a good life felt like. It wasn't the cheating. The cheating was the part that finally forced the truth into daylight. The truth was, I had been shrinking to fit. Once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. About 5 months after I left, I got a voicemail from a local number. I listened because I didn't recognize it. It was Tessa. Not the soft, "I miss you," Tessa. Not the apologetic, "I made a mistake," Tessa. This voice was rough and furious, like she'd been drinking or crying or both. "You're doing this," she slurred. "You're gone." Then she laughed. The same dismissive laugh from the night I came home. "You're such a saint, aren't you? Mr. Calm? Mr. Mature." She sucked in a shaky breath. "You know what? You never loved me. Real love fights. Real love forgives. You leave. You're a ghost." Her voice cracked. "I lost everything. And you can't even pick up the phone to tell me I deserved it. You're a coward. You're cold. You're..." There was a crash in the background, something thrown, then sobbing. Then the line went dead. I saved the voicemail, not out of sentiment, as proof. When apologies don't work, the truth leaks out. And her truth was, she believed her pain should become my job again. I moved into a new apartment at the start of winter. Not furnished. Mine. I painted the walls a warm off-white. I built shelves. I bought a second-hand dining table and refinished it. I hung a corkboard with sketches for woodworking projects. A bookcase, a small coffee table, a bench. I started hosting Sunday dinners with 2 friends from the workshop. Nothing fancy. Pasta, salad, a loaf of bread I learned to bake because it turned out I liked learning things when nobody mocked me for being too serious. Peace arrived quietly. Not like fireworks, more like the steady hum of a fridge in a clean kitchen. Reliable. 6 months to the day after I walked out, I stopped at a cafe near my new office. It was the place that smelled like espresso and cinnamon, with too many plants and not enough outlets. I was early to meet Erin. I ordered a black coffee and sat near the window. I wasn't thinking about Tessa, not in any active way. She had become a closed file, shoved into a drawer labeled past. The bell above the door jingled. I glanced up out of habit, and there she was. For a second, my brain refused to map her onto reality, like seeing a person from an old dream walking into your present life. She looked different, thinner. Her hair was darker, pulled back, face pale. The sharp confidence she used to wear like lipstick was gone. Her eyes scanned the room, landed on me, and widened. She stood frozen, one hand on the strap of her bag, like the ground had shifted under her. Then she walked toward me. Slowly. Deliberately. As if she was walking into a trial. "Evan," she said. My name sounded foreign in her mouth. I nodded once. "Tessa." She flinched at the neutrality. "You look good," she said. I could tell she was trying to find the old version of me in my face, the man who would soften, who would make it easier for her. She didn't find him. "Thank you," I said, polite like a stranger. She swallowed. "Can I sit?" "I'm waiting for someone," I said. Not a no, not a yes. A fact. She glanced at the empty chair anyway, desperate. "A minute? Please." I shrugged slightly, granting the smallest possible space. She sat perched on the edge, hands clasped tightly. Her knuckles were white. For a few seconds she stared at the table. Then words rushed out like water from a broken pipe. "I've replayed that night many times," she said. "I hate myself. I was cruel. I was selfish. I said things I didn't mean." Her voice wobbled. "Graham was not who I thought he was. He lied to me. He used me. She swallowed hard. "He hurt me." She waited for my face to change, for sympathy, for rage on her behalf, for the protector. My expression stayed still. She pushed on, faster now. "I'm in therapy," she said. "I'm trying. I'm sober now. I'm not that person anymore." She looked up, eyes shining. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. For cheating, for what I said, for making you feel like you were nothing." Her voice cracked. "You weren't nothing. You were everything." I listened. I did not nod. I did not reassure. Her hope flickered, searching for fuel. "Is there any chance," she whispered, "we could talk? Not about getting back together. Closure, coffee, something. I'd take anything." I took a slow sip of my coffee. The bitterness grounded me. I set the cup down gently. "Tessa," I said. "Calm. That night, you told me something important." Her eyes brightened, thinking this was the opening. "You told me it didn't matter that much," I continued. "You didn't say you made a mistake. You didn't say you were broken. You said it didn't matter." Her mouth opened to protest. I lifted a hand slightly, not to silence her, to keep my words steady. That honesty gave me clarity, I said. It showed me where I stood in your life. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I was scared, she whispered. I was stupid. I, I believe you, I said, but it doesn't change what I learned. Her brows pulled together. You don't feel anything? I considered the question, then answered with the only honest thing. I feel peace, I said. The word landed between us like a closed door. She shook her head, desperate. That's not fair. People change. They do, I agreed. And you should change for you, not to win someone back. She stared at me as if I'd spoken a language she didn't understand. The bell jingled again. Aaron walked in, spotted me, and lifted a hand. His eyes flicked to Tessa, then back to me, questioning. I gave Aaron a small smile, the kind that came easily now. I stood, picked up my coffee, and looked down at Tessa. I hope therapy helps you build something stable, I said. Truly. Then, because I'm still polite even when I'm done, I added, take care. I stepped around the table and walked to Aaron. I did not look back. I didn't need to. Outside, the air was cold and clean. Aaron asked, you okay? I surprised myself by answering without hesitation. Yeah, I said, I'm good, and I meant it. If you're reading this while trying to decide whether you should fight for someone who betrayed you, here's what I learned. Some people mistake your calm for weakness. Some people mistake your loyalty for obligation. Some people don't recognize your love until you stop handing it to them for free. Leaving doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it looks like a quiet, steady decision to stop living in a story where your pain is considered not that big a deal. I didn't leave to teach her a lesson. I left because I finally listened to what her actions were saying. And the silence that followed was not emptiness. It was room. A few people messaged me later asking why I didn't confront Graham, why I didn't make him explain himself. The honest answer is embarrassing. I didn't want to give either of them the satisfaction of seeing me unravel. Tessa had always been fascinated by big emotions in other people. She'd watch reality shows and say, I hate drama, while leaning closer to the screen. When we argued, she would push and push until I finally snapped, and then she'd act wounded by my tone. I'd end up apologizing for being angry instead of talking about what made me angry. That night, my calm was the first boundary I'd ever enforced without negotiating it. The next morning, I called my manager and told him I'd be working remotely for a couple days. He didn't ask why. In logistics, everyone has a story for being tired and nobody wants to hear it. I ordered groceries to the hotel because I didn't trust myself to sit in a restaurant surrounded by couples. I answered emails. I updated spreadsheets. I pretended the world was normal because I needed something to hold on to. Then, around lunchtime, the shock wore off and the memories started arriving in ugly little pieces. There was the time I stayed up until 3 a.m., helping her build a last-minute pitch deck because her coworker dropped the ball. She'd kissed my forehead and said, "What would I do without you?" There was the week her mom had surgery and I drove them to appointments because Tessa couldn't handle hospitals. There was the winter I paid for her certification course because she said it would change everything, and then she quit the industry 3 months later because it was too corporate. I'm not listing those things to earn points. I'm listing them because, in the hotel, I finally understood the pattern. Whenever life got hard for her, I became the solution. Whenever life got boring for her, I became the background. After I moved into the sublet, I made a rule for myself. No checking her social media, no asking mutual friends for updates, no late-night scrolling for explanations. I knew how my brain worked. Give it an unanswered question and it will chew on it until it's poison. I also made another rule. If I felt like texting her, I had to do something physical first. 10 push-ups, a walk around the block, a run. I needed my body to lead my mind back into reality. The first time I broke that rule, I almost broke more than that. It was a Friday, 2 weeks in. Work had been brutal. A shipment got held at the border and I spent 6 hours in calls trying to fix a problem I didn't create. When I got home, the apartment was dark and too quiet. No footsteps, no TV, No, how was your day? My hand hovered over my phone. I typed her name in search, muscle memory. My thumb shook for the first time. Then I saw my reflection in the black screen. Tired eyes, clenched jaw, shoulders up by my ears like I'd been carrying weight in my neck for years. I put the phone down and went for a run in the rain. By the time I came back, soaked and breathing hard, the urge had passed. I hated that I still had the urge at all. The practical fallout was more annoying than the emotional fallout. Changing addresses, updating payroll, getting my name off the utility account, moving my car insurance. Every form felt like a small admission that this was real. The worst part was the mailbox. For weeks, her mail kept showing up at my sublet because she had once used my email for some auto-renewal, and the company helpfully combined our accounts. I'd open my inbox to see, "Tessa, your order has shipped." And my stomach would do a small, stupid flip like hope before I remembered hope had moved out. I finally called customer service and told the agent, "We're not together." She said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then she asked cheerfully, "Would you like to keep the rewards points?" That was the world. Indifferent, efficient, moving forward. One afternoon, the property manager of our townhouse called me. "Hi, Evan," she said. "Tessa says you moved out. Is that correct?" "Yes," I said. "Okay, she wants to renew the lease in her name only. I need confirmation you're not disputing." "I'm not," I replied. A pause. Then, quietly, "I'm sorry, that's hard." I realized it was the first sympathy I'd heard from someone who didn't want anything from me. Graham tried to contact me once. It was an email, sent to my work address, which meant he either Googled me or Tessa gave it to him. Subject line, "Can we talk?" The message was short. "Hey, I didn't know you guys were serious. She said you were done. I'm not trying to start drama. I want to clear the air. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Because what air needed clearing? Even if he had been tricked, he still climbed into someone else's bed. Even if she lied, he still benefited. And if he hadn't been tricked, the email was a way to ease his guilt at my expense. I wasn't interested in being part of anyone's cleanup crew anymore. The woodworking class turned into something bigger than a hobby. The workshop smelled like pine, glue, and old coffee. The instructor, a woman in her late 50s named Marisol, had the blunt patience of someone who has seen every mistake and survived it. She didn't care who I was outside the shop. In that room, the only thing that mattered was whether my measurements were correct. When I messed up a cut, she didn't soothe me. She said, "Good. Now you know what not to do." That sentence rewired something in me. Not everything needs comfort. Some things need truth. I built a small bench next, then a set of shelves for my apartment, then a coffee table I was weirdly proud of because it didn't wobble and the corners were clean. Every object was proof that I could create stability without begging for it. Around month 4, a mutual friend tried to play mediator. It was Jenna, one of Tessa's old college friends who had always been kind to me. She texted, "Can we grab lunch? I'm not here to guilt you. I want to check in." I agreed because Jenna was one of the few people who respected boundaries. We met at a sandwich place near my office. After we ordered, she said, "I'm not going to give you a play-by-play, but I do want you to know. She's telling people you abandoned her." I laughed, one short sound. Jenna's eyes widened. "Sorry, not funny." "It is," I said, not cruelly. "It's consistent." Jenna leaned forward. "Do you want me to correct them?" "No," I said. "People who know me will know. People who don't can keep whatever story helps them sleep." She watched me for a second and then nodded slowly. "You're different." "I'm less tired," I said. That was the best way to explain it. The last time I set foot in the townhouse was to pick up a box that got left behind. The property manager let me in. It was daytime. Sunlight made everything look smaller. The hallway still had the photo wall, our vacations, her birthday, the goofy picture booth strip we took at a wedding. But something was missing. My jackets, my shoes, my presence. It looked like a stage after the main actor quits mid-run. The box was in the spare closet. Inside were random things. A mug my sister gave me, a bundle of charging cables, a notebook with half-finished project plans. The final item was a small envelope. My name was written on it in Tessa's handwriting. I did not open it there. I took it home. At my apartment, I opened it at the kitchen counter. Inside was a single photo. Us, at a beach, 2 years ago. She was laughing, head thrown back, my hand on her waist. On the back, she had written, "We can fix this. Please." I stared at the photo for a long time. Not because it tempted me, because it reminded me how convincing a moment can be and how little a moment can guarantee. I put it back in the envelope and slid it into a drawer, not as a keepsake, as a document. By the time I saw her in the cafe, I had already practiced being done. Done is not a feeling you wake up with one day. It's a series of choices. Not replying, not checking, not asking. Building a new routine until the old one doesn't fit. That's why, when she sat across from me with wet eyes and trembling hands, I could hear her pain without letting it become mine. I'm not proud of her suffering. I'm not proud of my calm. I'm aware of the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. Compassion says, "I hope you heal." Self-sacrifice says, "I will bleed, you don't have to." I did enough bleeding in that relationship. I didn't owe her another bandage made out of my life. Last note, because people always ask, do I believe in forgiveness? Yes. Forgiveness is what I gave myself for staying as long as I did. Forgiveness is letting go of the urge to rewrite the past. Forgiveness is admitting, I didn't know then what I know now. But forgiveness doesn't require access. It doesn't require a second chance. It doesn't require me to return to the place where I stopped being seen. Some doors don't close with a slam. They close with a click. And the quiet afterward is not a punishment. It's freedom.